Hi, this is Rhett with testingtheory.com, and today we're going to talk about the 5 cultural quagmires that A/B testers, conversion rate optimizers need to avoid. There are so many organizational issues that will keep you from moving forward with your experience optimization program. If you're trying to do good A/B testing, if you're trying to influence organization to make positive change, these 5 cultural quagmires are things you need to be aware of, you need to be able to spot early, and you need to know how to overcome them. This video is going to focus more on what the quagmires are so that you can spot them easily. How you overcome them may be unique to your organization, and it may be something that you consult with your team or get an outside consultant, but once you can spot and identify the cultural problems that are existing that are keeping you from doing more testing, you're more likely to be able to overcome it. The first cultural quagmire I see all the time is the fear of change. This fear involves being afraid of moving too fast, worried that your visitors are seeing too many changes in the tests that you're running. It's when you have clients or customers that are worried about making decisions because they know those decisions will lead to change, and they feel more comfortable just going in circles and stalling and waiting. The fear of change, the fear of moving too fast, is a huge issue with companies that have conservative leadership. You need to be able to spot this cultural quagmire to understand when the thing that is keeping you from progressing may just be that fear of change. The second cultural quagmire I want to point out today is when a company is really focused on other methods of research. This is when you see a company that all they do is surveys, or they rely on other outside research reports like Nielsen-Norman reports. You see this in companies where all they do is usability studies. Sometimes they'll try to get a combination of other research methods, but they don't realize that the different research methods have different values. For example, one company that I work with, they always use these Nielsen-Norman reports. And to them, that's the end-all be-all because it's this massive study, and they trust that data so much without realizing that research method may be interesting to get ideas, but it didn't look at their customers, their audience, their business, and by blindly applying a research method to them, they're missing out. And so when you use these other research methods exclusively or without looking at how it compares to each other, you're limiting the value you can get. And that's why it's a cultural quagmire, because it's a cultural thing to rely on these different types of research methods without understanding that they don't have causal data, or they're not the right customers, or they're biased in their delivery, things like that. So other research methods can be a huge cultural quagmire that you need to look for and avoid. The next cultural quagmire that I want to point out is guessing without data. I bring this up because I saw this just this last week. I was working with a client, and they told me that they didn't want to test some variations because they just wanted to implement the one they liked. Another client said that their hypothesis didn't want to answer that business question. They didn't want to know if those variations were better because that's not what their hypothesis was. Now, in reality, that's a very technical way of saying that this client didn't want to see data. They wanted to just guess. They wanted to just go with what their gut was. They wanted to just move forward. Whenever you get to a point where you see clients or your business or the customers guessing without using data, you can realize that they are in the trap, a cultural trap, that it will keep them from getting good results. Now, the reason they do this may be well-intentioned. In this particular case, this person is very set on moving forward and showing progress, and he was feeling like, hey, if we run all these tests and do all these variations, that's going to slow my progress down, so I can't report back to say, look how good I am. So he may have his personal motives for doing this, but in essence, you have to be able to spot that when someone is trying to do things that keep them from getting good data, you have to call them out on and say, you want to guess, you want to not use data. That culture quagmire can only be overcome if it's first called out. When people want to avoid testing something because it doesn't line up with their hypothesis, you have to call them on it. And it's a huge cultural quagmire that you have to spot. The fourth cultural quagmire I want to point out is people and businesses that only rely on correlative data sets. This is probably one of the most common things I see. You have groups in departments, or you have entire organizations that all they do is they have dashboards and they have heat maps and they have lots of analytics reporting, and they're really trying to use data, but they don't understand that the data they're using is correlative analytics data and not good causal testing data. When you spot this cultural trap, you have to understand that the data they're using, while it may be good for ideation, is not causation. And so this is a really common cultural trap because people don't understand that causal data only comes through testing and through actually changing the visitor experience. The fifth cultural trap that I want to point out is what I call the IT beast. When your technology department has so much power and so much control or is faulty, you get the IT beast. And this manifests itself in lots of different ways. For example, you might have a site that's constantly breaking, where people go to the site and there's bugs, there's issues, there's things that aren't working. You've got an IT beast that is controlling your site and breaking things. And this is so detrimental to a testing program. When you have some variations that are running, and after the test has been running for a while, you realize there were bugs in the site, not the actual test of variations, but the functionality or the site itself, that hurts your test results. You can't trust them. And the IT beast who is breaking your site or introducing bugs or changing your site in the middle of a test, that is so hard on the testing program. Another thing I see that the IT beast does is they control the site. They don't let things get released. They don't let things that were winning tests get launched. They control the site so tightly that things don't move forward, that things don't get launched. And when you have a strong IT department or technology department that is in that kind of control, they limit the value you can get with testing because they don't allow you to move forward. They don't have a good integration between, hey, this test won, now we should push it live. And for them, it's like, hey, you can do testing if you want, but they're going to be in their own cycles, their own development lanes, their own process. And so the IT beast can be a huge cultural quagmire that you have to identify, and you have to proactively look for solutions to it once it's been identified. So just to summarize, these are just a few of the cultural traps I see. These are some of the big ones. There's definitely many more. But whenever you see organizations falling into this trap, you need to spot it early so you can proactively work against it to overcome it. So if you see organizations that have a fear of change, if you see organizations that are using other research methods or only other research methods incorrectly, if you see the company guessing without using data and trying to rely on their own ideas and opinions that the business wants to do instead of what the data and the visitors are telling them, if you see them only using correlative data, or if you see this IT beast, you have to be able to spot these things early and often. These are cultural traps that will halt your A/B testing, that will kill your conversion rate optimization and keep you from doing good work. So now I want to hear from you. If you've seen any of these cultural traps inside your company or the companies you've worked with or consulted with, put that in the comments below. Tell me which trap you've seen most often. Also, if you like this video, please give me the thumbs up. Let me know that it was valuable for you. And you can also visit me at testingtheory.com where you can sign up for a free consulting session with me if you want to talk through some of these issues in person. Testingtheory.com is where professional testers turn to do better A/B testing and get more conversions.